Fair Isle or stranded knitting is a really fun knitting technique, but I think that something that stops some knitters from being comfortable with Fair Isle knitting is dealing with the yarn, because you're working with 2 strands across every row, and that's not a normal thing that we do in knitting. It takes some practice and experimentation to figure out how to be comfortable working this way. So I think that the impulse for most people when they start Fair Isle knitting is to just knit in their normal way. So here I need a purple stitch, so I would knit a purple stitch, drop that yarn, pick up the white yarn, and knit the next stitch. Drop that yarn, pick up the next yarn, and knit that stitch, and so on across the row. If you were a continental knitter instead, you could do it the same sort of way, where you would knit 1 stitch, drop that yarn, pick up the other yarn, and knit the next stitch. You can already see that this takes a lot of time. Dropping the yarn, picking up the next yarn, knitting the stitch, dropping the yarn, picking up the next yarn. So there's got to be a better way, right? Well, the good news is there are several different better ways, and I'm going to run through all of them here so that you can think about and try and determine which one is the best for you. So if you're an English knitter and you hold the yarn in your right hand typically, you might want to try holding both yarns in your right hand at the same time. And because I've done a fair bit of experimenting with how I hold my yarn, I like to hold one yarn over my index finger and one yarn over my middle finger. I've just learned that this is the way that's most comfortable for me. You may find that you want to put both yarns over the same finger. It's really up to you, so you just need to practice and see what works for you. So the movement is kind of a little more exaggerated than your typical English knitting might be, to be able to get the proper yarn in the right place for each stitch. But you can probably already see that this is a little more efficient and faster than dropping, picking up, knitting would be. Just be careful to only get the yarn that you need to be knitting with for that particular stitch. And you'll also want to be consistent in which yarn goes over which finger, because it actually does make a difference in the way the fabric looks, depending on which yarn is held in which hand or over which finger. So if you're a continental knitter and you are more comfortable with the yarn in your left hand, you can also do a version of this with both yarns in the left hand. So here I do prefer to have both yarns over the same finger. So I just drape both of the yarns over my left index finger. Again, being consistent in which one is on the top and which one is on the bottom. And then I use my middle finger to help push into place whichever yarn I need for that particular stitch. So here I'm pushing the white one forward, and here I'm pushing the purple forward. So it's a much smaller movement than with the English or right hand knitting, and it's a good choice if you're already comfortable with continental. And if you're not already comfortable with continental, or vice versa, if you're not already comfortable with English, when you're learning stranded knitting is a great time to brush up on the other technique, because our final option, excuse me, these last ones are being difficult. Our last option uses both hands, putting the yarn one in each hand. There we go. So here I am going to put the white yarn in my right hand and the purple yarn in my left hand. Again, you'll want to be consistent as you go through the project. And so I'm just going to knit English style for the white stitches and continental style for the purple stitches. For me, this feels the most comfortable and natural, even though I'm not super comfortable with continental knitting in general. It just feels like this goes a lot faster. It keeps the yarns separated, it keeps them from twisting, and it's just a really easy way to get across, and it goes pretty fast once you get the hang of the two different styles. So I hope that if you are new to Fair Isle or stranded knitting, or you just want to brush up your technique a little bit, that you will investigate trying some of these different hand holds for the yarn and explore what feels and works best for you.